And so with the younger ones, I do a lot of exploration. I let them figure out like how do we use it and what are some basic features. I do things with them like how do we create interactive and augmented book trailers. And as my younger ones, the 2-year-olds and the pre-K students get familiar with it, we go on scavenger hunts with 3DBear, and we go and find objects around our environment and insert other things that might go with it. And you'll have an opportunity to experience one of those activities that I actually use with them that can be modified and adapted for different grade levels as well, and for different pieces of that content. And with the older students, I do book reviews with them that they create within 3DBear. We do a lot of altering our environment and making it sustainable and inclusive, and things along those lines. So we'll be definitely exploring that a little bit. You want to share a little bit about some other folks? So we're gonna skip that. How's that? Perfect. All right.
Okay. Do you want me to
Sure.
go through this? So you might be wondering what's the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality. So you've heard these terms AR and VR. So augmented reality is AR, virtual reality is VR. And in VR, you are in a completely virtual environment. You usually put in Google goggles, and then you see only the virtual world. So you might go to Mount Everest or do an expedition somewhere. Augmented reality is different. You see the real world around you. And you can look, for example, through a mobile phone screen or an iPad, and you see your real surroundings, and you can add virtual elements into it. Augment it with virtual elements. That's what is augmented reality. And these have different pedagogical benefits. So virtual reality is good for going to places where you otherwise couldn't go, learning things that would be not safe otherwise, whereas augmented reality is perfect for interaction with the environment. So for example, you can have your friends in the photos and videos you take. You can make plays. You can use it to redesign a space. How would I envision this space to be? These are some examples what you can do in augmented reality, what you couldn't do in virtual reality. Do you want to add something, Tracy? Or?
No, so that's when I explain it to my young students. I say, augment needs to change, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to change what's right in front of us. In the virtual reality, it's like it feels like you're there, but you're not. It's a make-believe environment that's encompassing you, and they love that. It gives them a sense of empowerment that they can change what they see in front of them, and that they can augment it. So they really enjoy that piece of it.
And so one of the reasons, I guess, why you're here is that schools, you, are under pressure to increase performance. And in some ways, preparing students to do well on tests is not working, because what we really want to do is to teach them life skills. We want to make them get jobs, be successful in their lives. And in a way, using augmented reality is a really good tool for it, because it involves problem-based learning through design thinking. And what it really means, let's say we have a task of, let's say, I want to design this space to be more comfortable. And I can add like sofa there and chair there and shelf over there, really visualize my solutions. So that helps me to show my ideas, show my understanding better. And that's really power of AR.
And I think in addition to that, I was thinking about the media literacy piece, where it's teaching the computer science skills that it's teaching students. So they're learning how to change colors and put things into scale, which brings in a great math content area piece. They're also learning how to rotate, and and the symbols are all the same across different platforms, so it's a great way to introduce those type of symbols to students in a way that's really with high engagement.
Mathematical shapes, match them with real shapes in your surroundings to learn that 3D math is nothing complicated. It's part of our everyday environment. Spelling, with what letter does these objects around me begin with? Take a picture, show it to a teacher. T as in table, look what I found. It's really engaging way of doing that. And as a part of this kind of a design thinking process, so there's steps in taking this into use, but when you get more familiar with it, it's really good to be put into this kind of a design thinking framework. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not just about using the iPad and the app. That's not the point. The point is to use technology in a meaningful way, so that if I have a problem, let's say I want to build a base on Mars. First I need to find information about it. Then I will discuss in groups about how would I build this base. We need to decide together what our base is going to look like, and then I'm going to use the iPad to model it. So let's do it. Let's create and visualize it. And even that is not the point. The point is the understanding that the students get when they do this process. And that involves also explaining it to others. So then they've thought about, found information about what do I need for surviving in Mars, how is it different to Earth, I need to have place to get water from, I need to place to be safe from the radiation, and this is how we've built our Mars base to kind of accommodate for all of that. Then they explain their creations and designs to others. So that really helps them to think about the problem and how I'm about to solve it. So when you try 3DBear today, and we do a lot of lessons, please keep this in mind. So it's not just only using the app, it's a kind of a framework and a lesson you put the app into. And we have in the app a lot of lesson plans that help you to do that.
If people want, can you send them the presentation so they don't have to take pictures of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was just going to add on to what Jussi was saying with, it's not, so like that Mars example might not relate content-wise. And it can also be for you guys here, but I'm thinking also like community-based, right? And how we teach our students to be part of a larger community, whether that's part of their classroom community, their school community, town, whichever. So it's even thinking like about those lines also, which I actually think the Mars example goes along with that, like how can we, right? And so thinking about that, like what's for the greater good and how can I be inclusive and what are some things we might need. So it's really building in some of those critical thinking skills that they're going to need. Like my students, my first graders last year, I had them redesign our playground that was inclusive. So they were like, well, this student in our class is sight impaired, so we need to think about that and what are some things that we can include for that. And then another class was like, well, we have 3 students in our class who, they didn't say that they're on the autism, but there were 3 students in that class that were on the autism spectrum and who struggle to interact socially. So they were thinking, well, what are some things that we can put on the playground that would help them feel more included and be able to play, but yet if they wanted to, they could go be by themselves. So they were thinking about those things as they redesigned the playground. And we went outside and ended up doing that. And so it's taking like that research also in some very different ways, and then helping them through the design process in a very, very natural way. So let's play. Let's get you familiar though with the app. So on the iPad, the 3DBear app, and I'm gonna open mine as well, so you can kind of see.
The passcode is all zeros.
Beautiful.
Are they on? Yeah, are they on?
Yeah.
Oh, they might.